with love, but time to battle, I'll find them all. I felt the whips and remember chains, when my sword has been forged by my father's flames. Fight your fears and heal your pain, and victory will be in your name.
I used to be weak, but I'm not weak no more. I found the strength of my ancestors deep down in my African core. I used to be fighting, I'm not afraid no more. The Father blessed me with the heart of a lion and a warrior soul. So no weapon that form against I shall not prevail. No man that rise against I, that war they shall never win. 'Cause I will conquer, no I will conquer. Yes I will conquer, conquer. No man let's conquer, no I will conquer. Rise up and conquer, conquer them.
Tell them no retreat, no surrender. I shall fight till the end of days. I was born as a Makai warrior, and the Almighty God my blade. Fire burn all Satan carrier. Father loose all shackles and chain. This morning first thing as I wake up, King David told Sam to the brain. Don't let your courage go down, keep it up. And if your heart rip up and stitch it up, don't let your faith them fall, pick it up. When the cup was empty, God fill it up. Don't take the devil contra, rip it up. And if your bad mind people, you go meet it up. Pass me the Congo, Jama, let me beat it up. God on my side, me no give it up.
No weapon that form against I shall not prevail. No man that rise against I, that war they shall never win. 'Cause I will conquer, no I will conquer. Yes I will conquer, conquer them. No man let's conquer, no I will conquer. Rise up and conquer, conquer them.
Thank you, Father. I want to say thank you, Lord. For everything, Father. Thank you. Father, you alone shall guide me. No man shall lead my path. In the wind I hear your quiet whispers, and you heal my broken heart. Even some of my friends turned enemies, and they pray for right to fail. I remember you gave us your only begotten son, but we gave him the wind of life. Send down the warriors with the hello, they carry down to the end of days. No matter how the devil try to trick me, unto you my soul I will give. Father, I know this time is coming, I can see the high tide rage. Without you there is no other. Could it be that we the myself?
No weapon that form against I shall not prevail. No man that rise against I, that war they shall never win. 'Cause I will conquer, no I will conquer. Yes I will conquer, conquer them. No man let's conquer, no I will conquer. Rise up and conquer, conquer them.
I am a man. I am a champion. I am a warrior. So who are you to tell me that I cannot make? Who are you to tell me that I am not the greatest thing that God ever created?
Good morning, Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique. You're listening to Hard Talk Grenada. A very special good morning to those of you joining us on 97.5 City Sound FM, 89.5 CRFM, 92.9 Sister Isle Radio, broadcasting from Hillsborough, Carriacou, and of course 90 as possible nonetheless. We are definitely having a beautiful sunny morning here in the Spice Isle, and of course regardless of the circumstances that we are under, we are grateful for life. We are thankful that we get to breathe a sigh of relief this morning. All right, it is beautiful. We are happy for life. You know, we are thankful that, I mean, this could have been worse. We could have been in a worse situation that we than we are in now, but we aren't. And of course, we must be grateful for that. Of course, we want to thank all Grenadians who've been playing their part, following the rules, the policies put in place to protect us. We want to thank you. And of course, we want to ask you to continue in the march. Let us all work together to ensure that we beat this thing. We want to be able to come out on top at the end of the day, right? So we definitely are thankful to you for doing your part as a Grenadian and ensuring that you stay indoors. Remember, the curfew, 24-hour curfew, is still in effect. Today is a shopping day. I must say that I haven't seen much bustle today as I did on Monday. The shops are not cramped. There aren't lines outside. Of course, so this is a telling tale, right? Of course, we know banks and financial institutions. There is an emergency, food or otherwise. And it's not meant to keep us confined, but it's meant to protect us. It's meant to keep us safe. I know we're still awaiting results from those 18 tests that were taken. Of course, everybody is sort of anxious. Everybody is waiting, a bit impatient in some cases. But the time will come when we will hear the results. In the meantime, we are praying and hoping for negative results. We ain't want no more positive cases. All right, we are on a good streak. We're going places. All right, and we want to continue along that streak. Remember, seed payments, they started yesterday. All right, so of course we are going to give you details on that coming up. But very early this morning, I want to open the lines. I want to hear from my people. I want to hear from you. How are you doing? What's going on in your area? And of course, we're going to start the conversation this morning on agriculture. Now, there's a big debate going on. And of course, we're hoping, and I have scheduled tomorrow that the Minister of Agriculture, all right, she will be here. And we will be discussing along those lines. Now, I just want to take a very short break, guys. I want to just address a technical issue. So let's just take a very short break, and then we will be back with that discussion along the lines of agriculture. What is being done? What can be done? What are your views on the agriculture sector as it stands right now? And what suggestions do you have for improving that sector? Do you really believe that our agriculture sector can hold up our economy on its own? Let's start talking about that. But we'll take a short break first, and then we will be back with some more information for you.
Walls are bound to crumble, and to the floor the spears will fall. I've been made and sealed with love, but time to battle, I'll fight them all. I felt the whips and remember chains when my sword has been forged by my father's flames. Fight your fears and heal your pain, and shall not prevail. No man that rise against us, that war they shall never win. Yes, I will conquer them. Come on, let's conquer. No, I will conquer. Rise up and conquer them. Thank you, Father. I want to say thank you, Lord. Everything, Father. Thank you. Father, you alone shall guide me. No man shall lead my path. In the wind I hear your quiet whispers, and you heal my broken heart. Even some of my friends turn enemies, and they pray for right to fail. I remember you gave us your only begotten son, but we gave him the word of life. Send down the warriors, be carried on to the end of days. No matter how the devil try to trick me, unto you my soul I will give. Father, I know this time is coming. I can see the high tide rage. Without you there is no other. Could it be that we is myself? Weapon that form against us shall not
right, guys, we seem to have fixed that issue, and of course, we are back with you. The number to call is 440-7377 if you are calling locally, but if you are in the diaspora and you want to contribute to the conversation, you can call 347 329-3101. And of course, we do have WhatsApp. You can send your messages to 440-7377 to be a part of the conversation, right? There's a big topic going around, a big debate going around that not enough is being done for agriculture, and that agriculture on its own can sustain the Grenadian economy. What are your thoughts on that? And of course, we will have the minister giving us her insight on that, along with all of the things that the Ministry of Agriculture as a ministry is doing to support farmers. She would have mentioned in a press conference that there are 9,000 registered farmers in Grenada. That's a lot of farmers, all right? So what's going wrong? What is happening? Why are we not able to build the sector to where it needs to be? Is it fault of government? Is it fault of farmers? Is it nobody's fault? Let's talk about that. Let's see what's happening. Let's hear what's going on in your mind, all right? But in the meantime, let me share with you some information that we do have available here. The Inland Revenue Department reminds taxpayers that its cash office at the Ministry of Finance on the Carriacou, St. George, will be opened from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Wednesday, today the 22nd of April, and Friday, the 24th of April 2020, to facilitate tax payments. All returns can be filed at the email address etaxhelpdsk@ird.gov.gd, or drop-off boxes available at the IRD. Payments can be made either through the cash office at the Ministry of Finance, electronic funds transfer via banks within the ECCU, or via IRD's e-services platform, accessible at https taxservices.gov.gd. And we have our first caller on the line. Good morning,
Hey, good
caller.
morning, Miss Duncan.
Hi, good morning.
How are everything?
Can you,
Yeah, Miss Duncan.
caller, before you begin, can you please lower the volume of your radio in the background?
Yeah. Yeah, better?
No, you have to lower it all the way down. Listen to me on the phone.
Yeah.
All right,
That's good.
much better.
Yeah, on topic this morning, could agriculture stand on their own? I go see no. Agriculture can stand on its own. I think you need a merger with agriculture and tourism. Because, like, you have tourists coming in here, and then tourists is going to need the local food. So then, with agriculture and you don't boost tourism, agriculture, it will be a problem. So the people doing the farming, they need to sell the crop. And as more tourists come in, the tourists need the local food to eat. So then tourism and agriculture, they need to merge together. So agriculture cannot stand on their own.
All right, thank you so much for your contribution, caller.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, there is that big debate. Can agriculture stand on its own to support the Grenadian economy? I am of the very firm belief, as the caller would have said, that there must be a merger. Let's take our banana industry for a moment. We had a very, I would say, lucrative banana industry. But what happened is that the larger countries, that are doing the farming, some of their farms are bigger than our country on a whole, and they are also producing. So you have to look at it in that context. When you're saying agriculture can support the Grenadian economy, What exactly do you mean? Explain that and give reasons to support your answer. I know sometimes we make a lot of broad statements as it relates to things that we think need to be done. But some things are much, much harder, much harder to look at. You know, we have to take things in the context of how is it going to be done? How are we going to achieve this thing that we're talking about? It's easy to say, let's focus on agriculture. Let's pump funds into agriculture. Let's build the agriculture sector. That is easy to say. But how is it going to be done? Are you going to give, you need to give us ways, suggestions in which it can be done. Criticism is very easy to give. You know, criticism is very easy to give. But criticism can be overwhelming if it is not followed by suggestions. And as Grenadians, sometimes we are very good at criticizing. But can we make the appropriate suggestions to deal with this? Now, I know that those of you who are joining us on the Facebook Live, we are having a bit of technical difficulties this morning, so bear with us. Some of you may be able to hear and not view the live, so please just bear with us while we resolve this issue. But let's talk. The number to call is 440-7377 if you're calling locally. If you are in the diaspora and you want to contribute to the conversation, the number to call is 347-329-3101. I do have another press release here to share with you, of course, coming from the Prime Minister's ministry. And it says Prime Minister initiates task force to chart Grenada's way forward post-COVID-19. Now, I remember last week we started talking about this. What are we going to do going forward? Because while Grenada might be able to open up its economy as a country, remember, COVID-19 is affecting the entire world, right? The world economy is at stake. So we must now think about ways that we can deal with this, ways that we can help build our economy internally. We have another caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Miss Duncan. Always so happy to see you. God bless you always. I don't want to pretend that I know much about agriculture, but what I do know, that government has always put things in place, and farmers is either not aware or they want to be spoon-fed. There's a lot of lands that I think can be planted up with different crops at different times. But one of the things that I notice is that some of the farmers, they plant the same crops at the same time, so there's always a glut of a certain vegetable or fruit. So maybe they could plan what they're going to plant at a certain time so that this wouldn't happen. And everybody will have different crops of fruit at different time and not at the same time. Thank you. Have a good day.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution, caller. Very valid point. Maybe it doesn't happen all of the time with all of the farmers, but maybe more collaboration needs to happen in that area. Let's decide what we're planting, how we're going to plant it, you know, because they have the knowledge. We are on the outside looking in. Some of us have absolutely no idea what we're talking about when we say that more money needs to go into farming. Some of us just say it because we hear it, you know. Some of us say that not enough support is being given to farmers. Again, we just say it because we hear it. Some of us have absolutely no idea what we're talking about, you know, but it is up to the farmers. And I would really like to hear from farmers. What are their views on what is happening as it relates to the agriculture sector? But as we've discussed here before, support for the farmers need to come from us. We must start. We are making that clarion call. We are the ones that are saying, okay, let us boost the economy by investing more in agriculture. That is fine. That may be a right call. But we must also stand up to the plate and say, we are going to be the ones to begin giving that support. You know, we are going to be the ones that will start supporting the farmers buying their crops. That is where it needs to begin. So yes, we are all saying, let us invest in agriculture. Let's do more in agriculture. And mind you, a lot is already being done. And of course, the minister is going to speak on that tomorrow, so I don't want to say too much about it. But a lot is already being done for our farmers from a ministry standpoint. But what are we as Grenadians doing to support the agricultural sector that we believe needs so much support? What are we doing? Are we going out there every Saturday and ensuring that we buy the crops that the farmers produce? Are we ensuring as farmers that we are utilizing the services that are being provided to us by the government of Grenada in the right way? All of these things need to be taken into consideration. You know, we have to start having the conversation, but we also have to start being honest with ourselves. Are we doing everything that we need to do as Grenadians to support the agricultural sector? What are the crops that need to be planted? What are the things that we can avoid importing if we ourselves plant it? Are we purchasing the crops that we are asking for supply of? I remember in years gone by, we were crying out, oh, there needs to be more eggs on the market. We need to be providing more eggs, because you would go in town during the Christmas season and there'd be limited to no eggs on the market because people are buying more eggs during that time. Farmers heard your cry. They stood up to the plate. This December, they started producing more eggs. Then what happened? There was a glut on the market. So you see, there needs to be, along with the clarion call, along with our cry for more, we have to be ready to make the sacrifices. We have to be ready to be inclusive. We have to be ready to support our farmers. You know, I passed through St. George today and saw in the vendors market, there were a few tables set up there. Farmers were, they put out their crops, yams, and it was beautiful, a lovely setup. The only thing that was missing was us. That was the only thing missing. Us. To buy the produce that they work so hard to supply us with. We're asking for it. We're crying for it. We're begging for it. And when it becomes available, we're not bothering with it. We prefer to go and buy the fast food and the KFC, and we prefer to cook rice and macaroni and pasta, these pastas, and these are the things that we prefer. There's nothing wrong with liking what you like. But at the same time, if you are asking that we enhance and improve the agricultural sector, then you must be ready to make that switch to support it and to support what you're asking for. So we have to know what we want as a people. We have to know what we're asking for. We have to know that we are ready to make that change when we ask for it. So we definitely have to be careful, all right? I know we want to say that farming can sustain the Grenadian economy. In theory, that sounds great. On its own, agriculture can do it. Theory, that sounds great. But practically, is it really great? Practically, is it really achievable? These are the things that we need to think about. Setting goals, setting achievable goals is something that they always taught us in school. You want to set goals to reach the sky, but you have nothing to take you there. Achievable goals. All right. So the task force has been put in place to ensure that we can start charting our way forward. What are we going to do when this is all over, when we have been declared safe as a country? When businesses start opening their doors to the general public, what happens? Because there are going to be a lot of people in Grenada who are still going to be without jobs. Hundreds of people in the tourism sector. Hundreds of farmers. Let's take that into consideration because there are a lot of farmers. 9,000 farmers registered on the island. And a lot of these farmers are supplying hoteliers. A lot of these farmers depend on the tourism sector. So when we are up and running again and we are able to go to our stores and shop and we are able to move about within the country, there are still a lot of people who are going to be suffering as a result of this COVID pandemic. So there must be plans put in place. We must start the conversation on how we move out of this situation. It goes way beyond us saying, close our borders and keep them closed. It goes way beyond us saying, let's be quarantined for 24 hours for the next 3 months. It goes beyond us saying, we ain't have no more cases, let's ease up. It goes way beyond that. All right. So since the declaration of the state of emergency and the imposition of the 24-hour mandatory curfew, economic activity across the country was essentially brought to a standstill, with the exception of a few businesses permitted to operate during this period. The creation of the task force and to chart the country's way forward economically was one of the agenda items for consideration at a recent cabinet meeting, and the idea received the full support of the ministers of government. The proposed task force will comprise of representatives from the country's economic sector and various organizations that contribute significantly to or impact on the local economy. Several government ministers will be part of the decision. There has been a very favorable response to the proposal and the initial meeting of the task force, which is planned for Wednesday, which is today. Dr. Mitchell said, the first meeting will essentially serve as an opportunity to issue the mandate to the members of the task force and establish multiple subcommittees that will in turn develop proposals for various approach to development. Various economic sectors, I apologize. This administration has always welcomed a multi-sectoral approach to development. And that type of partnership becomes even more important now as we seek to survive and eventually recover from the threat that is COVID-19. The pandemic has affected us all, and it is important that we come together to chart the way forward. The creation of the task force is just one of the decisions coming out of the recent cabinet meetings, which have continued despite the statewide lockdown. Ministers have been using available technology to hold virtual meetings and continue the business of government. The Prime Minister, who is also chairman of Cabinet, says the switch to virtual meetings has been seamless, as Cabinet was always in the midst of implementing a reform strategy intended to streamline and create greater efficiencies in its operations. Remember, guys, it's an open line this morning. The number to call is 440-7377 if you're calling locally. And, of course, if you are in the diaspora, it's 347-329-3101. Let us know how you are doing. Talk to us about what's going on in your neck of the woods. There's a lot to consider. How do we move forward from this? How do we chart the way forward to start building our economies, to start moving ahead. And to be honest, I would not rather see anybody in the seat taking us through this than our Honorable Prime Minister. Call me biased if you want to, I'll take it. But I would rather see nobody else. And I'm saying this simply because we've been through an economic crisis before. And he was the one to chart the way forward. He was the one who took us out of it and placed us in a situation where we are now better than ever. We can hold our ground. This is just one more hurdle. And I'm absolutely certain, and I have full confidence in the leadership of our country that they will take us through it. All right. Now, I do have a leaflet here that I want to share with you from the Caribbean Examination Council. This is coming out of the Ministry of Education. So, CXC presents an info webinar. All right. For those of you who are wondering what that is, it's basically a seminar on the internet. All right. It's an information seminar on the internet. All right. And of course, it is about the overview of the e-testing process, a question and answer session for teachers, parents, and candidates of the region. All right. And that is happening tomorrow, Thursday, the 23rd of April, 2020 at 5 p.m. And of course, you can register. There's a website to register too, and we will post that on our Facebook page, and of course we'll post it on the live video as well so you can see. And the registration closes tonight at 10 o'clock. So parents of students who are expected to sit the CXC examination, and of course that includes parents of students who are expected to sit the CPA and CAPE as well. You would want to log on. You want to know what's happening. It is a question and answer webinar, which means that you get to pose questions as well. So if you are wondering what is going to happen with our students, we have to remember that Grenada doesn't set the exams. It is set by an institution, which is CXC, and they must give the mandate on what is going to be done as it relates to the examination or sitting of the examination for our students. All right. Ministry of Education can make pleas on our behalf, of course, but they do not set the exams. It is CXC, and we must keep that in mind. So there are moves being made to try and figure out what's going to happen. I know I have questions. I have a daughter who is expected to sit the exam, so I do have questions as to what we are going to do, how we are going to achieve it. Are our children going to have to spend another term in primary school? These are questions that our parents do have, you know, and this is the right forum for you to use in order to get answers to those questions. So I urge parents again, tomorrow, the 23rd of April, CXC will be having a info webinar, all right, which will be an overview of the e-testing process. So you get all of your information. I'm quite certain that the Ministry of Education is going to give us a follow-up after that to kind of break it down and, of course, give information to parents who were unable to view or unable to reach this forum and ask their questions. I'm also hoping that those of you who do have the opportunity, please make it a priority. All right. Also, the Grenada Cooperative Development Bank is issuing a webinar tomorrow as well. So a lot is happening tomorrow. They have a webinar and it's titled, "Is Loan Payment Postponement Right for Me?" All right, so learn more in a live financial support webinar brought to you by Coop Bank. So for those of you who have loans within Coop Bank, and of course you are devastated or you are affected financially by COVID-19 and you are unable to make or meet your necessary requirements to pay those loans, this is a webinar for you. All right. You also have the opportunity to tune in on Facebook at Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited, on YouTube, and of course you can listen live on WeiVybz. To share your questions, you can call at 440-CORP, or that's 2667. And of course, you can WhatsApp at 410-CARE or 2273. And to find out what's happening as it relates to your loan payments. All right? You have to keep up to date on what's going on. I mean, this pandemic has affected us in many different ways, but life still goes on. So for those of you, and of course I feel like I must say this because somebody asked me the question recently. They said, well, if I'm not working, if I'm working from home at due to this pandemic, right? Do I still have to pay my bills? Yes, you still have to pay your bills. You still have to put away that money once you're getting it to pay your bills. All right? It is important. Not because there is a pandemic means that is an opportunity for you to not pay your bills. Once you have means by which you can do it, please go right ahead and do so. All right? It is important for us to still take care of our responsibilities as a people. This is not an excuse for us to get away with what we want to get away with. Let us do what we can do. And of course, we know that there are people out there who are really very much affected by this pandemic. There are financial implications of this pandemic on a lot of people. You know, we have to think about those persons who are in the tourism sector. How are they going to deal with this after all is said and done and we are given the all clear to start moving around as a society? How is this going to affect them? How do they move forward? These are the things that we must consider, you know. And I know that the NIS will be giving payroll support to persons who are affected. As for the criteria and the way forward on how they're doing it and what processes they're using, I'm really hoping that they would put out some information soon on that. We have another caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, how are you doing?
Good morning, how are
Yeah,
you?
long time I call and then call, man.
How are you?
Well, they say we in this thing together, not so?
Yes, we in it together.
Yeah. We sound kind of low, but if we in this together, I see the farmers, I think they're supposed to do a little more for the farmers. But I see the supermarket I'm open to sell things for people, the public, and the public more calling up the supermarket more. Farmers in the land, it's more safe to be in the land than out in the street taking bus and going to supermarket and everything. I feel they should open a day for to sell the people sell the cocoa and not and thing, man. Anyway, my opinion, I feel more safe out in the field already than into the urban area.
Well, caller, when you're speaking about opening a day, are you speaking for just nutmeg and cocoa farmers or all farmers? Because
no. I mean not cocoa farmers. You can't cocoa for everybody. But about nutmeg and cocoa farmers, these people are more safe than the people out in the street, man.
But I will tell you this. Farmers do have an opportunity to go into their lands and do their work. They just need to ensure that they apply for a pass with the Royal Grenada Police Force.
I don't talk about this pass and thing. All I talk about is open up for the sale of the cocoa and nutmeg. That's what I'm talking about, because people just have that gallon up there, they have the cocoa get up, they have everything just have it there. You understand? That's what I'm thinking about. The sale for them. Just other people get chance, because some people depend on only that, you know. They only need feel their livelihood. They only depend only on that the income coming from. So you have to look after them too, because you see we all exist together. So if some other people get chance, you know, but just opening a full cocoa station, I don't think that could take away anything from people. Because not 20 people are be crowding up in that.
Well, I know that the talks are being held to figure out the way forward as it relates to the cocoa and nutmeg farmers. Because remember, a lot of the cocoa and nutmeg that we produce is for export, right? And of course, we know that the market is slow in a lot of areas because this is an international issue. So there are talks being held for charting the way forward. But I do understand where you're coming from, caller, and I really do hope. Are you?
I must try and figure that line. You talk there, and maybe I have to go back to you to hear us in a real low. So take care.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I do know, caller, as I was saying, that talks are being held, as they would have mentioned before, to deal with the issue of nutmeg and cocoa farmers. How they're going to do, you see, this is a very tricky situation. It's very, you have to deal with it with care. You can't just make decisions based on how people feel about a certain situation. And I definitely do understand where you guys are coming from as it relates to your source of income and being able to go out there and deal with what you produce. But of course, we have to look at it from different angles, you know. We have to look at it from different angles. So let's hope that very soon that measures will be put in place for this to be done. I mean, it's a hard situation, you know, having to be locked up. And I shouldn't even say locked up because it's not really locked up. But being under this quarantine is a difficult situation. Many of us for years are accustomed to just moving about as we please. Many of us have developed a routine, you know, and it's very difficult when out of the blue we are meant to break that routine, you know. So it is a difficult situation. And I mean, every decision will not be perfect the first time, right? But of course, it is a trial and error situation because it is new. It is new. And it must be dealt with. It must be dealt with as things progress. Because every decision that you make today, tomorrow it may not be the best decision for tomorrow. It's probably the best decision today, but it may not be the best decision for tomorrow. So we have to take that into consideration as well. And we have to look at it in a long-term point of view. All right. So remember, guys, the lines are open. I want to hear from more farmers. I want to hear from vendors as well. Let us know how it's been for you. A lot of the vendors have been setting up shop in their communities, which I must say is a great it is a great decision on some of their behalfs, because there are a lot of people who are not going to be able to go into those open markets that they have available in the National Stadium and so on for vendors, right? A lot of people are not going to be able to go and buy these things there. So if you set up shop in your communities, yes, I do believe that is probably the better thing for you. Of course, we as a society must understand the significance of social distancing, all right? Understand the significance and appreciate that it is being done with our best interest in mind. All right. So I want to hear from the vendors. I want to hear from you guys. The number to call is 440-7377. Let us know how it's been going for you. I know it's a difficult time. For some of you, you have your local clients or your normal clients that you deal with every Saturday or whatever it may be that you may not have access to or who may not have access to you. Let us know how that is affecting you. Speak on your own behalf. There are a lot of people there speaking and thinking they're speaking on your behalf when that is not the case. Speak on your own behalf. Give us a call and let us know what is going on with you. Of course, I want to start, because it is a long list and time is of the essence. I want to start giving out the information as it relates to the seed payments. Something also to take into consideration, because it was brought to my attention yesterday. For some of the elderly people and persons on who receive seed payments, some of you normally receive your payments through your accounts in your respective banks, right? And this was necessary to say because there are people who don't really understand what's happening. So those of you who receive your payments through banks, so on a normal basis, when you are expected to receive your seed payments, you don't have to go to the treasury to receive it. It goes straight to your bank account. That will still happen. All right? That will still happen. So if you normally receive your seed payments through your bank, that will still happen. This list of seed payments that I'm about to read is for persons who would normally go to the treasury to receive their seed payments. All right, and I feel that it's important for me to note that. So let me begin with the constituency of St. George Northwest. Today, Wednesday, from 9 to 12. So you guys have about 45 more minutes in Grand Mall and Molineux. All right, Grand Mall and Molineux at the Grand Mall Community Center between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. You would receive your seed payments there. And this is only, I must reiterate, for the persons who normally go to the treasury to collect your seed payments. If it goes to your bank account, that will still happen. All right. On Thursday, the 23rd, which is tomorrow, we're still in St. George Northwest, from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., the village of Mount Morris, and that would be at the Mount Morris Seventh-day Adventist Church. And from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., it's going to be Happy Hill, and that would be at the Happy Hill Secondary School, and that is for tomorrow, Thursday. The parish of South St. George. For today, from 9 to 12, Woburn at the Woburn RC School. From 9 to 12, from 1 to 1:30, Calavini at the Calavini Playing Field. From 1:45 to 3 p.m., Woodlands by Sugar Bowl, and that is for today, Wednesday. For tomorrow, Thursday, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., Golf Course, Jean Anglais, and Coffeybow Hill. That would be at the Golf Course Pasture by Day Parlor. I guess it's Day's Parlor. That's that's where it's going to be. So for those of you in Golf Course, Jean Anglais, and Coffeybow Hill. All right. And of course, from 1 to 3, it's going to be Grand Dance and Fenton Village at Mercy V's shop. All right. And that is for South St. George. For St. George Northeast, tomorrow, Wednesday, from 8:30 to 3 p.m., New Hampshire, Willis, Annandale, and Constantine at the Constantine Methodist School. And tomorrow, Thursday, from 8:30 to 12, Lamorde, St. George Estate, Mount Gay. It's going to be at the Lamorde Catholic Church from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Tempe, Mount Parnassus, Rady, and Ravine are going to be at the St. Mary's Private School, and that is for St. George Northeast tomorrow. We're looking now at the town of St. George. We have Dabo, Mount Rush, and Cemetery Hill, and they're going to be at the River Road Community Center from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So from 9 to 3, Dabo, Mount Rush, Cemetery Hill at the River Road Community Center. From tomorrow, Thursday, we have the Carriacou, Green Street, H.A. Blaze Street, Lothers Lane, Lucas Street, Park Lane, Scott Street, Tantine, and Woolwich Road at Marshall's Shop on H.A. Blaze Street. All right. For St. George Southeast, today, Wednesday, from 8:30 to 10 a.m., Calavini at the Calavini Playing Field. 10:30 to 3 p.m., Monjaloo, Richmond Hill, Bocas, and Creighton at the Monjaloo Catholic School. Tomorrow, Thursday, 8:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. and 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., Marianne, Springs, Paddock, and Defu. And Marianne would be at the Marianne Community Center, Springs, Paddock, Defu at the Springs Child Development Center. And then we have St. Andrew Northeast on Wednesday, 8:30 to 2, Pearls at the Pearls Community Center, 1:30 to 2 p.m., or 1 o'clock, sorry, to 2 p.m. Paraclete at the Health Center Junction, and 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Blaze at the Aja Shop or Aja Shop. Those of you in the area, you know where that is. And tomorrow, Thursday, from 8:30 to 2 p.m., it's conference, Moya, Bel Air, Carrier, and Herman, and that is at the Bel Air Government School. All right, for St. Andrew North West. Today, they're at Mount Horn for, and this one is, it's a lot. It's 8:30 to 9 a.m. At Pole. 9 to 9:30 a.m. Romaine Shop, 8:30 to 10:30 a.m. Mount Horn Pasture, 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. Rosemount Junction, 11:30 to 12 Symmetry Gap, and from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. it's Paraclete and Blaze, and that is at Paraclete by Blueberry Hills, and the Health Center Junction. So that's for those of you in the St. Andrew Northwest. That is today. That is happening. And for tomorrow, Thursday, it's Marybo Sab St. Cloud, and 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Marybo at the Marybo Pasture, 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. St. Cloud at Sab Playing Field, and from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Balthazar at the Balthazar Pasture. And that is for tomorrow. For St. Andrew Southeast, tomorrow, let's start today, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Telescope at the SAS Pasture. And tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Grand Bacalet Hope and Mamacan and Kuma at the Mamacan Community Center. Then we move on to St. Andrew Southwest. For tomorrow, we have 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Grand Bra, Leicester, and Carriacou, and that is at the Grand Bar Community Center. Harford Village and Mount St. Evans, and that's from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. at Harford Village Community Center. That's for today, Wednesday. Tomorrow, it's Ladigue, Bellevue, Richmond, from 12 a.m. from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Ladigue Preschool. From 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. It's Walker, Pleasance, De Blando, and Post Royal. That would be at the shop close to Rome Museum inside Walker. All right, and those of you in Ladigue, Bellevue, and Richmond, it's at the Ladigue Preschool. Then we move on to St. Patrick West. Today from 9 to 12, it's Mount William and Samaritan at the Samaritan Pool Wall. Then we have Redmond, La Fortune, Medes, and La Mode at the fire station. Tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., it's Chantimel at the Chantimel Preschool Grounds. In St. Patrick East, today from 9 to 3, it's Rose Hill and Upper Mount Fendu, and that is Rose Hill Pasture is where they're going to be. Tomorrow, Thursday, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., River Sally at the River Sally Pasture, and La Taste, and that is also going to be at the River Sally Pasture. For St. David, it's today, Wednesday, Après Tout Tebaid, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Patrick Francis Shop. We have P.T. Esperance, Maltley, Belle Isle Content, and from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the St. David Police Station. All right. Tomorrow, Thursday, it's Corinth and Lassages from 9 to 12 at the Corinth Government Schoolyard, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. at Coles Gap, for Coles Gap at the Coles Gap Junction. For St. Mark, today from 8:30 a.m., the Crusher and Upper Waltham, from St. Mark Secondary School grounds, right? That's where they're going to be. And from 9:30 a.m., they're going to be at Lower Waltham, River Sally. You're going to River Sally Bus Shed. Okay, so those of you who receive seed payments in Lower Waltham and River Sally, you're going to the River Sally Bus Shed. From 11 a.m., those of you in Coast Guard, you're going to the Coast Guard Preschool. And from 2 p.m., Upper Diamond and Lower Diamond, Upper Diamond at Desk Shop and Lower Diamond, home payments will be made to you. On Thursday, it's Bonnet and Better Village and Bonjour, and that is going to be home payments will be made in that area as well from 9 a.m. and from 1 p.m. it's Upper Diamond, St. David Street, Fairfield and Cruikshank Road, and that is at Gems Palace de Villa. All right, for St. John, today, Wednesday, it's Mount Granby, Douglaston, and Mount Nesbitt, and that is from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m., so that would have already passed. From 12 p.m. to 3 p.m., Concord, Cotton Bailey, Brooklyn, and Woodford at the Concord Government School. Tomorrow, Thursday, 8:30 to 11 a.m., it's Whitegate, Grand Roy, and Mount Plaisy, and that is Grand Roy Community Center. And that is it for all of the constituencies we've covered. It's definitely a mouthful, but as we promised, we will continue updating you daily on where you should go to receive your seed payments. All right. And remember, the number to call is 440-7377. 347-329-3101 if you want to call and make a contribution to the conversation. Now remember, those seed payments are to be made to people who go to the Treasury to receive their seed payments. If you receive your seed payments through the bank, that will still stand. Guys, we're going to take a short break and then we will be back with some more information for you.
Pleasant morning, listeners. Welcome to our program brought to you by the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority. As our garbage collection teams continue their day-to-day operations during this period of limited movement across the country, from time to time they have encountered some challenges of parked vehicles hindering the collection service. In this morning's program, we wish to focus our attention on this issue. The disruption to garbage collection service as a result of indiscriminate parking is an issue which we have addressed time and time again through this means of information sharing. In fact, there are instances where the authority would have had one-on-one discussions with vehicle owners in certain communities to address the problem of poorly parked vehicles, seeking a speedy resolve in the matter for the benefit of all affected. With the coming into effect and subsequent continuation of the limited state of emergency as announced by the Government of Grenada, we have been experiencing some challenges with vehicles using the roadsides for parking without leaving adequate space for our collection teams to access certain communities and carry out their mandated duties. We do recognize and understand that most of the workforce is at home during this time, hence the increase of parked vehicles along roadsides throughout various communities. However, vehicle owners ought to be mindful of how parking their vehicles along narrow roadsides will impact the collection service provided to their communities. This morning, the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority is kindly asking vehicle owners to get acquainted with the collection schedule for their area and ensure that your vehicle is removed in time for the commencement of the collection service, which will in turn allow easy access for our collection teams and prevent any damages that may occur to our equipment, your vehicle, private property, or public property. Let us make every effort possible to ensure that our actions do not hamper the collection service being provided at this time, in a bid to prevent garbage being kept outside until the next day, creating breeding grounds and safe havens for disease-carrying pests and wild animals, unpleasant odors left lingering in communities when teams are unable to remove garbage because of indiscriminate parking, or interference from drifters taking the garbage from one place to another, resulting in garbage spills all over the community, making the job more difficult and hazardous for the collection team and street cleaners during this time. We all have our part to play during the COVID-19 pandemic, and we ought not compound the problem even more and burden our health system with effects of waste not being collected in communities in a timely manner due to indiscriminately parked vehicles. Vehicle owners are therefore asked to please ensure that in parking in front of your homes, you leave adequate space for large vehicles to pass, such as our compactor trucks. Please park on one side, especially where roads are narrow, and always avoid parking on both sides of the road. Avoid parking in areas where the opposite side of the road is broken or near precipice, thus making it too narrow for trucks to navigate. Do not park in front of waste receptacles or too close, so that it makes access difficult for our collection teams. Once again, we are asking vehicle owners to use their discretion when choosing a place to park vehicles, and please get acquainted with the time and days for garbage collection in your community and remove your vehicle for the collection service if needs be. This has been our presentation for today. Join us again next time for another program from the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority.
All right, guys, and we are back. Something I do want to touch on quickly before we move on to the next topic. Now, I know that there are a lot of people out there wondering what's happening with students, and I think it's maybe time we hear from a few teachers on how they've been dealing with the no classroom situation, no face-to-face interaction. Yesterday, my son had a Zoom meeting with his teacher, which was, he loved it. It was wonderful. It's a new experience for them. And for the children who are at a technological age, they like that. They enjoy the fact that they get to sit in front of their devices and do schoolwork. But we do have a call on the line. Let's take this call. Good morning, caller.
Yes, good morning, darling. How you do, baby?
I'm good, Miss Jacob. How are you?
You okay?
Yep, I'm good. How are you?
But I'm okay too, you know how. Okay, man. By the grace of God. Put God everything you're doing. Put God first.
Absolutely, I agree.
God has to come first in everything you're doing, If you go to raise the right foot, you ask Papa God, can I raise my left foot, Daddy? If he tell you no, don't raise it, you don't raise it, do something. And what I really call for is those senior citizens from 65 go up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's we had some, they don't understand 65 go up. They come in and bring me things for us, but I don't hear nothing for those CP, how they call it, for those that taking those under 60 go drunk for school children. What happened to these set of people?
I'm not sure what you're asking,
Eh?
I'm not sure what you're asking. Ask it again.
Asking those children, those parents
Mm-hmm.
that have children,
Mm-hmm.
that does go up for money for those dead children.
Right, the seed payments.
Eh?
Seed payments.
Oh. And well, he have a girl by me. She is in she's 60s, but she don't have 65 yet. So she asked me to ask you all. She does get money too, but where they had to go to get it is in current government school.
Well, where does she live?
Eh?
Where does she live?
Where she live in?
Yes, where does she live?
She lives in by me here. She lives in Wester Hall, Stone Street.
No, Wester Hall. You guys have to wait until Monday. Your day for seed payments is on Monday the 27th. All right, from 9 to 12.
Okay.
And it's going to be at the Wester Hall pasture.
Oh, and the Wester Hall pasture, they had to get it.
Yes, so that's until Monday.
Okay, so that is for Monday.
Yeah, but
Right.
that is only,
Yeah.
Miss Jacob, that is only if she or anybody else that you know that receives seed payments, if they receive their seed payments by going to the treasury,
Yes.
then that's the only reason they would need to go to Wester Hall pasture.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
if the money goes directly to the bank, then that will still happen.
Okay.
All right. So if they have arrangements with Government of Grenada to send their payments directly to their banks, that will continue to happen. This arrangement is only for persons who would normally go to the Treasury to receive their seed payments.
Okay. Oh, right. That's a good thing. That's something good. Yes, as I know, I get in from NIS. My NIS going straight into the bank.
Okay.
And I don't say the penny bank. I can't remember the name of the bank now. I know it as the penny bank before. What is the name of the bank now? What? First what?
The First Caribbean?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, my NIS money going there. So I had to go for that next week.
All right. Well, I know you know how to sort out your business.
So God bless you, and I love those doctors, and especially Minister Steele. You could see he's a stealing shooter. Trust me. Oh my God, that's a stealing shoot.
Yeah.
He's a stealer. I love him. And then those police, the inspector of police and things, they do a wonderful and a blessed job. But you know what I wanted to do? I wanted to bring back the curfew, how it was. The one they changed it up to 7 o'clock for, take it out and bring it back to 5. When 5 o'clock or 6, what they put it to 7 for? 7, they do a lot of stupidness, and I don't like that. Bring back the curfew, how it was.
Well, Ms. Jacob, the curfew is still in effect, and I think people must be, although sometimes we have to save people from themselves, but I think sometimes we have to leave people to be responsible on their own. I mean, it's just as if you're growing up a child. You would want to train them in the way that they should grow so that when they get old, they don't depart of it. You don't train a child in the way that they should grow so when they get old, you continue to train them, right? You have to expect that people would be responsible enough to understand the situation and to adhere to the rules and protocols. All right, so while I agree, a significant amount of policing must be done because in some cases we must save people from themselves. I do believe that we must put some pressure on individuals in society so that they can be responsible on their own.
That's right.
On their own.
Yes. Well, darling, you have a nice and a blessed day, and tell my beautiful, handsome Prime Minister, you have a nice day too, and I pray for you.
All right. Well, you have a wonderful day, Miss Jacob.
You have a wonderful day. God bless you.
You too.
Bye-bye, darling.
All right. Bye-bye.
Right.
Always a pleasure hearing from Miss Jacob, and it's good to know that she's still, in light of all of this, she's still vibrant and chatty. She still has a lot to say, but people have to be responsible for themselves. Yes, this is a state of emergency. Yes, we are under the advisement of the government and the Royal Grenada Police Force, and yes, a certain level of policing must be done. But do I agree that people must be policed all of the time and that you have to tell people that they must stay home every single day? No, I don't agree with that. I believe that people must be responsible enough to know what is best for them and to know what is best for, and be considerate, basically, of other people. We're doing this for a reason. It's not just government or the police saying stay home because they want you to stay home. All of us want to be up and about and moving. But when there are a few people who don't follow the protocols and don't follow the procedures and want to do what they want to do, you know what happens? We end up staying inside for a longer period of time. So in an effort to free yourself, you are confining others more. So just adhere to the protocol. We're hoping, I am even hoping, some of us, we get anxious when we hear an announcement is coming by the Ministry of Health, and I'm hoping very soon that we would get an announcement. Sometimes they say no news is good news. I'm hoping that this is the case. I'm really hoping that this is the case, because we are at a good place and we need to get back to adhering to the social distancing rules. Because, I mean, even long after we come off of the quarantine, we still have to expect that there will be some level of social distancing protocol to be adhered to still. All right, so we still want to take that into consideration. Okay, Ms. Jacob, the person is saying it's not First Caribbean Bank, it's the Grenada Cooperative Bank. All right. The penny bank, that is way beyond my time, eh? I am too young to even remember that was called the penny bank. All right. So guys, remember, keep in mind that there will be a webinar this afternoon as it relates to the way forward for examinations for our children. And these are the people to ask the questions, as it relates to examinations. If you want to know what's happening with your child, if you want to know what's the way forward, then that is the place to be, to find out what steps are going to be taken. How are we going to deal with this pandemic and still ensure that our children are tested? Some of the children were looking forward to sitting that exam and putting on that high school tie or that convent tie or GBSS or PBC or Happy Hill or whatever it may be. They were looking forward to that. And now they're in a situation where there's a lot of uncertainty floating around as to when and how. So we have to take that into consideration. And of course, we have to be a source of comfort, because there are times when our children may not be able to express. They may not be able to express exactly how they feel in relation to the situation. So that is why we must have constant conversation with our children. Find out how they're doing. Find out what's going on in their head. I know that a lot of parents out there now are wishing that the teachers would just come and take back the children. A lot of them, it's very frustrating for them because they are moving around in uncharted waters. But let patience prevail. There is Khan Academy, and I definitely advocate for them because they have been a great help in times of need, not just for my children, but for myself as well, in studying. They are very, very, very good. Khan Academy, that's Khan. All right? They have a lot of tutorials, very simple, very easy to follow, that parents can utilize to help teach their children. And it will help you as well to be able to help that child. All right? For some of us, it's like going to school all over again. We're learning something new. But at the end of it, we will all come out better. You'll see. We'll all come out better than we went in. A lot of us are going to be able to tap into resources that we didn't even know we had. And we will come out better and we will come out stronger. So we are winding down. The time is upon us. And of course, we are going to close here because I simply want to play for you the statutory rules and orders as of the 20th. And this is for a 7-day period. So on the 27th, by the grace of God, we will either see that there may be changes. We may have further easements, and that is all dependent on what these 18 tests say. All right? So our fingers are crossed that we will hear very soon from our Ministry of Health what's going on in that department. Of course, we're hoping and praying that all of those tests come back negative, so that we can move forward on how we build our country, how we move forward from this, how we resuscitate our economy after all of this. So we're going to play for you the statutory rules and orders as of the 20th, which would have been Monday. Guys, it's always a pleasure speaking with you in whatever you say and whatever you do. Be safe and be secure. I always want to be talking with you and never about you. Please enjoy the remainder of your day.
Imagine that you've worked all year and finally able to escape to Grenada for the perfect holiday. You are now relaxing on Grand Anse Beach with the wind in your hair and sand on your feet, hearing the sound of the waves crashing on the shore and birds chirp.
Miss, you want any coconut water?
No, thank you.
Oh gosh, miss, buy something now. What about these pretty necklaces?
No, thank you, sir.
You sure you don't want no coconut water? It's good for your daughter, you know. Miss, you have any children?
This is harassment. One bad experience could translate into the loss of new and repeat visitors. Tourism benefits everyone. Tourism is everybody's business.
Grenada Statutory Rules and Orders number 22 of 2020. In exercise of the powers conferred under Section 4 of the Emergency Powers Act, Chapter 88, for the purposes of Section 17 of the Constitution, the Cabinet of Grenada makes the following regulations. Citation and duration. These regulations may be cited as the Emergency Powers COVID-19 Number 4 Regulations 2020. These regulations shall come into force on the 20th day of April 2020. Restriction on freedom of movement. 1. A curfew is imposed beginning from the 20th day of April 2020 and ending at 7 a.m. on the 27th day of April 2020. And during this period, every person shall remain confined to their space of residence, inclusive of their yard space, to avoid contact outside of their household, except as provided in these regulations or as may be authorized in writing by the Commissioner of Police acting on the direction of the Cabinet. 2. Freedom of movement may be exercised on a designated business day from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. in accordance with these regulations. 3. In these regulations, designated business day means Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or any other day so designated by the Commissioner of Police, acting on the direction of the Cabinet and published by any public medium, including radio or television broadcast. 4. Every person shall wear a mask or suitable covering over his nose and mouth whenever A. He is on, enters, attempts to enter, or is in a line to enter the premises of a business, establishment, or government office. B. He is in a motor vehicle with any other person. These regulations shall not apply in the case of a medical emergency. Work remotely from home. 1. All businesses and offices may continue their business operations by allowing their employees to work remotely from home utilizing virtual means unless they are permitted to work under Regulation 5 or are designated as essential workers under Regulation 7. 2. Where a business is unable to continue its business operations by its employees working remotely from home, the business shall cease its operations. Public service statutory bodies, state-owned enterprises, and courts. Subject to Sub-Regulation 2, all members of the public service shall work remotely from home, except as otherwise directed by the Secretary to the Cabinet. Where the Secretary to the Cabinet directs that specified public officers attend work, the government shall take reasonable steps to A. Ensure safe transport of the public officers in accordance with Regulation 14, and B. Comply with the physical distancing protocols in accordance with Regulation 6. Subject to Sub-Regulation 4, all employees of statutory bodies and state-owned enterprises shall work remotely from home, except as otherwise directed by the Board and approved in writing by the Commissioner of Police, acting on the direction of the Cabinet. Where the Board, with the approval of the Commissioner of Police, directs that specified employees attend work, The statutory bodies or state-owned enterprises, as the case may be, shall take reasonable steps to A. Ensure safe transport of the employees in accordance with Regulation 14, and B. Comply with the physical distancing protocols in accordance with Regulation 6. Subject to the practice directions of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, the court shall remain accessible, shall adhere to physical distancing protocols, and the persons employed within the public service shall work remotely from home as far as reasonably practicable. In this regulation, the court means the magistrates' courts and the West Indies Associated States Supreme Court. Closure of businesses and exceptions. 1. Every establishment or business shall remain closed except for the following. A. Wholesale or retail grocery stores and commercial bakeries from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on designated business days, and in the case of grocery stores, through a delivery service from Monday to Friday. B. Suppliers who supply grocery stores as authorized in writing by the Commissioner of Police, acting on the direction of the Cabinet. C. Doctors' offices, dentists' offices, opticians' offices, hospitals, medical facilities and pharmacies, and medical supply establishments. D. Gas stations from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. on designated business days. E. Hardware stores from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on designated business days. F. Hotels, excluding any spas, gyms, discotheques, and restaurants therein. However, such restaurants may offer takeaway or room service, and where a hotel remains open, the hotel's staff shall remain on the premises for the duration of the period under Regulation 2.1. Hotel employees shall bear the costs of the board and lodging of such staff members. G. Banks, credit unions, and money service businesses from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on designated business days. H. Commercial ports and related businesses from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on designated business days, subject to any variation by the Ports Authority. I. Airports subject to Regulation 10.1a. J. Commercial courier flights as authorized by the Airports Authority. K. Drive-through or takeaway services by food vendors and restaurants from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. L. Registered or bona fide fishermen, farmers, and butchers engaged in their business on designated business days. M. Veterinarians engaged in their trade on designated business days. N. Accountants engaged in their trade on designated business days. O. Insurance companies on designated business days. P. Businesses licensed to provide security guard services. Q. Manufacturers and suppliers of personal protective equipment and hand sanitization products. R. Works of construction only in the case of urgent plumbing, electrical, roof repairs, or other emergency repairs for a home or business. S. The Inland Revenue Division on designated business days. T. Such other businesses or undertakings as may be specifically exempted in writing by the Commissioner of Police acting on the direction of the Cabinet, and the owner or operator of the establishment, exempted under paragraphs A to T, shall adhere to physical distancing protocols under Regulation 6. In this regulation, grocery stores include supermarkets and shops which sell groceries. For the avoidance of doubt, establishments and businesses under Sub-Regulation 1C are open to the general public on designated business days and are accessible on any day, only in the case of a medical emergency. The Commissioner of Police acting on the direction of the Cabinet may specify the business hours for such other businesses or undertakings under Sub-Regulation 1. If the manager, owner, other person in charge or employee of any establishment exempted under Sub-Regulation 1 aids, abets, or facilitates the contravention of these regulations, the establishment shall be immediately closed without prejudice to any other penalty in law. There shall be no consumption of alcohol in or in the vicinity of any establishment exempted under Subregulation 1 or in any public place. Physical distancing protocols. Every establishment shall A. Ensure that all customers and staff maintain physical distancing of no less than 6 feet in or outside their business. B. Determine the number of persons that may be permitted in the establishment at any one time by permitting one person for every 30 square feet of store space. C. Place distance markers 6 feet apart, indicating where each customer must stand on a line at a checkout point. D. Place distance markers 6 feet apart on the outside of the establishment, indicating where customers must stand while waiting to enter the establishment. Employees of a hospital or healthcare, medical, residential care establishment or facility and members of the Royal Grenada Police Force shall take reasonable steps to comply with the requirements under Subregulation 1 unless it is reasonably impracticable. Shelter in place and essential workers. For the avoidance of doubt, but subject to Regulation 12, every person shall remain confined to their place of residence inclusive of their yard space to avoid contact outside of their household except A. Essential workers who report to work, B. Workers required to work under Regulation 4 or 5, C. For essential travel to an establishment exempted under Regulation 5(1) on a designated business day or for essential travel to an establishment under paragraphs A to I of Subregulation 3 on a designated business day. D. All members of Parliament, the Attorney General, the Director of Public Prosecution, magistrates and judges, the Registrar, the Deputy Registrar of the Supreme Court. E. Members of the official COVID-19 task force on official duties. F. In the case of emergency travel to any hospital or medical facility. For the purpose of paragraphs A to E of Subregulation 1, such a person shall at all times distance himself at least 6 feet from any other person. For the purposes of this regulation, an essential worker means an officer, staff, employee, or director of A. the Royal Grenada Police Force, B. the National Disaster Management Agency, or any person authorized by the National Disaster Management Agency, C. Her Majesty's Prisons, D. the Ministry of Health, E. the Department of Customs and Excise Division, F. the Accountant General's Division, G. the Ministry of Social Services, the Office of the Prime Minister, the Inland Revenue Division, the Ministry of National Security, the Ministry of Agriculture, Waste Disposal and Sanitation Companies, any hospital or healthcare, medical, residential care establishment or facility, the Airports Authority and Ports Authority, where that individual is essential to the operations, an establishment in the water sector or the electricity sector, where that individual is essential to the operations, an establishment in the telecommunications sector or any other sector encompassing the provision of electronic communications where that individual is essential to the operations, any print or electronic house where that individual is essential to the operations, private caregivers for the elderly or disabled as authorized in writing by the Commissioner of Police acting on the direction of the Cabinet, and any other department or ministry or category or officers or workers as, in the case of public officers, directed by the Secretary to the Cabinet, in any other case approved in writing by the Commissioner of Police acting on the direction of the Cabinet. Every ministry or department listed at paragraphs D to K of Subregulation 3 shall operate with essential staff, which shall include the Permanent Secretary, the Senior Administrative Officer, and any other head of department, and such other public officer directed to attend by the Secretary to the Cabinet. All essential workers shall at all times carry personal identification that evidences their employment by attachment to or connection to the entity by virtue of which they are deemed essential workers. Education and religious instruction. All religious and educational places of instruction or worship shall remain physically closed. Subregulation 1 does not prohibit any activity referred to therein by electronic or virtual means. Restriction on social activities and funerals. No person shall host or attend any social activity of any description, including a wedding or a funeral hosting more than 10 members, in addition to the officiant and essential mortuary staff. Restriction on international travel. With immediate effect, except with the prior written permission of the Airports Authority, all airports, including private airports and fixed base operations or FBOs, shall be closed to incoming international flights carrying any passenger. All seaports shall be closed to regional and international seafaring and private boating, and no person shall be permitted to enter and disembark for any reason, including transiting through the state of Grenada, except with the permission of the Airports Authority and the Ministry of Health. Subregulation 1 shall not apply to outgoing flights or outgoing ships as the case may be, cargo flights or cargo ships as the case may be, commercial courier flights, emergency medical flights, emergency flights, flights carrying any diplomat, if permission has been granted by the Airports Authority and the Ministry of Health. Notwithstanding Subregulation 2, no crew member will be allowed or granted shore leave unless for the purposes of operational difficulties and upon receiving permission from the Airports Authority or the Ports Authority. Restriction on domestic travel. No person shall offer for hire or seek to travel on any mailboat sailing inter-island except for transport of freight or inter-island private commercial sea transport except with the approval of the Ports Authority and the Ministry of Health. Movement on designated business days. One person from a household may leave his residence once a day in accordance with Regulation 2.2 to attend an establishment exempted under Regulation 5.1 or to access essential services offered by an essential worker under Regulation 7.3. Employees or workers of an establishment exempted under Regulation 5.1 with respect to designated business days may leave their homes for the purposes of attending work on a designated business day, and their employers shall ensure safe transport for each employee or worker where necessary in accordance with Regulation 14. Restriction on road traffic. No person shall drive a motor vehicle on any public or private road for a purpose other than stated in Regulations 4, 5, 7, or 12. The Royal Grenada Police Force shall have powers to stop any motor vehicle and inquire as to the purposes for which that motor vehicle is being utilized and to arrest anyone found in violation of this restriction. The power to tow away under Section 30 and to affix an immobilizing device under Section 30A of the Road Traffic Act, Chapter 289A, shall apply in respect of any motor vehicle driven or used in contravention of this regulation.
You're listening to Hard Talk Grenada via www.hardtalkgrenada.com.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message